to the doctors. Then I took him to the hospital. I took him everywhere I could take him, right? You know what they told and they kept telling me, oh, he's fine. Because
This didn't leak quietly. It exploded. 1 minute Chrisean rock is trending like usual, and the next minute the internet is acting like it just found a classified file labeled "Do Not Open," ripped it wide open, and hit the red emergency button. Because according to what's spreading right now, over 10,000 people allegedly called CPS, all screaming the same name, all pointing at the same child, all asking the same terrifying question about Chrisean Jr. And suddenly, this whole saga went from messy reality TV chaos to full-blown social media hysteria. Let's be real, this isn't normal internet outrage. This is mass panic energy. This is timelines refreshing every 2 seconds. This is TikTok detectives clocking timestamps, screenshots, facial expressions, baby movements, and live stream angles like they're auditioning for the FBI. And the craziest part, everyone swears they saw something first. Everyone claims they were concerned. Everyone says this is about protection, not drama, while eating popcorn with both hands. This situation makes the Kardashians look like a calm family brunch. Because when the words 10,000 calls and CPS get whispered in the same sentence as a baby's name, the internet doesn't wait for facts. It builds a courtroom, picks a villain, chooses a hero, and demands answers immediately. And right now, all eyes are locked on Chrisean Rock. Under fire, surrounded by noise, rumors, and a scandal that refuses to cool down the moment this story cracked open. It didn't creep into the timeline, it kicked the door off the hinges. One clip here, one live stream there, and suddenly the internet decided it was no longer just watching Chrisean Rock's life unfold. It was intervening. The whispers started soft, then turned into full-volume sirens as people began claiming that CPS lines were being flooded. Not by dozens, not by hundreds, but by thousands upon thousands of callers, all allegedly dialed in with the same concern and the same name on their lips. Chrisean Jr. Now pause right there, because this is where things get slippery. Nobody has produced a neat spreadsheet showing exactly who called, when they called, or what was officially logged. But that's never stopped the internet before. What matters is perception, and right now the perception is that something crossed an invisible line. Screenshots started circulating like contraband. Clips were slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame like they were Zapruder footage. Comment sections turned into courtrooms, and armchair experts popped up overnight with the confidence of seasoned investigators, all saying the same thing in different fonts. This doesn't feel right. Chrisean Rock, a woman who has never exactly lived a quiet, background character life, suddenly found herself positioned as the main suspect in a case the internet wrote without a judge. Every past controversy got dragged back into the spotlight like an unpaid bill. Old arguments, old lives, old chaos. The narrative wasn't just about what people claimed to see now. It was about everything they remembered seeing before. And once the internet decides there's a pattern, it doesn't ask questions. It connects dots whether they're real or imagined. The alleged spark. A handful of live stream moments that viewers swear showed signs. Signs of what exactly depends on who you ask. Some claim the baby looked uncomfortable. Others said Chrisean seemed distracted. A few insisted they noticed movements, sounds, or behaviors that set off alarm bells in their heads. And instead of stopping at concern, the reaction escalated into action. Or at least that's the story people are telling. According to viral posts, the CPS phone lines didn't just ring, they supposedly collapsed under the weight of mass panic. Like a Black Friday sale for moral outrage. What makes this even messier is Chrisean's relationship with the internet itself. She doesn't curate a polished, PR-approved version of motherhood. There's no soft lighting, no scripted captions, no carefully timed silence. Everything is raw, chaotic, and very online. For some fans, that authenticity is refreshing. For critics, it's gasoline. And when a child is involved, suddenly everyone becomes an expert, a protector, and a prosecutor all at once. The irony is thick enough to cut with a butter knife. The same platforms that cheer chaos are now clutching pearls. People who've spent years consuming mess like it's a sport are suddenly screaming about responsibility and safety. And Chrisean Rock, who built her brand on being unfiltered and unbothered, is now facing a situation where every move is being watched, judged, and interpreted through the most suspicious lens possible. Then came the reaction wave. Fans jumped in to defend her, calling the CPS rumor mill exaggerated, dangerous, and downright obsessive. They argued that concern doesn't look like harassment and protection doesn't look like mass reporting. Critics fired back just as loudly, saying silence equals guilt and chaos equals neglect. The comments stopped being about facts and started being about sides. You were either protecting a child or enabling a disaster, with zero room for nuance in between. And let's talk about how fast the number grew. 10,000. A number so big it almost dares you not to repeat it. It sounds official even when it isn't confirmed. It sounds serious even when it's floating on hearsay. That's the magic trick of internet statistics. Repeat them enough times, and they start to feel real. Nobody asks where the count came from. Nobody checks the source. The number becomes the headline, and the headline becomes the truth. Chrisean's name trended alongside words no parent ever wants attached to them: CPS, investigation, concern, emergency, whether justified or exaggerated. The damage of association was already done. Once those words start circulating, they don't politely leave when the truth arrives. They linger. They stain. They reshape public perception whether anything official ever happens or not. Behind the scenes, speculation ran wild about who might have fueled the fire. Was it genuine concern spiraling out of control? Was it hate disguised as help? Was it clout chasing masked as activism? Or was it just another example of how quickly the internet turns human lives into content, especially when there's already a controversial figure involved? Every theory found an audience. Every rumor found legs. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock herself became the quiet center of a very loud storm. Every post she made, every silence she kept, every second she didn't address the rumors was treated like evidence by people who had already made up their minds. If she spoke, she was defensive. If she didn't, she was hiding something. There was no winning move, no safe response, no neutral ground. This wasn't just about a baby anymore. It was about control, optics, and who gets to decide what good parenting looks like in a world where everything is public. It was about whether the internet's obsession with accountability has crossed into something darker. And it was about how quickly concern can mutate into a mob when fueled by algorithms that reward outrage over understanding. As the story spread, one thing became clear: this wasn't going away quietly. The reactions were too strong, the opinions too polarized, and the stakes too high. What started as alleged concern was now a full-scale controversy, dragging everyone from fans to critics to casual onlookers into its orbit. And just when it seemed like the noise couldn't get any louder, the next wave was already forming, because once celebrities, memes, and outside voices enter the chat, scandals like this don't slow down. They multiplied. By the time this story hit full stride, it wasn't just trending anymore, it was mutating. What started as alleged concern turned into a cultural spectacle. The kind that feeds on itself until even people who swore they didn't care were suddenly knee-deep in comment sections arguing with strangers like it was jury duty. This wasn't a discussion. It was a digital food fight, and everyone brought receipts. Whether they were real, misread, or straight-up imagined. Memes exploded first, because of course they did. The internet processes trauma through jokes, and this situation became meme fuel at warp speed. Screenshots of Chrisean mid-livestream were frozen with dramatic captions. Reaction GIFs popped up like landmines. TikTok creators stitched clips with serious faces and wild music, narrating theories with the confidence of seasoned detectives. Every video started the same way: "I don't want to be messy, but," which is internet code for "I absolutely want to be messy." And once those videos crossed a certain view count, the outrage machine kicked into high gear. Celebrity reactions didn't help calm anything down. Influencers, rappers, bloggers, and industry insiders began dropping vague statements that felt like smoke signals rather than facts. Some posted prayer emojis and cryptic warnings. Others flat out questioned Chrisean's judgment without naming names, which somehow made it worse. It felt like watching a group chat leak in real time, everyone saying just enough to stir the pot while pretending they weren't touching the spoon. And let's talk about the so-called experts. Suddenly, the internet was overflowing with self-appointed childcare specialists, body language readers, and pediatric psychics. People analyzed the way Chrisean held her phone, the tone of her voice, the background noise in her videos. One creator claimed a baby sound meant discomfort. Another insisted a movement meant distress. Another swore they saw something that nobody else could see. It became less about evidence and more about who could sound the most convincing while looking straight into the camera. The number, that infamous 10,000, took on a life of its own. It became a chant, a rallying cry, a digital pitchfork count. A digital pitchfork count. People used it like a badge of honor. "We're protecting a child," they said, as if dialing a phone automatically made them heroes. Others pushed back hard, calling it harassment disguised as concern, a mob pretending to wear a cape. The internet split clean down the middle, and nuance got trampled somewhere in between. Pop culture comparisons started flying because nothing fuels outrage like familiar chaos. People compared the situation to past celebrity parenting scandals, dragging in names that had nothing to do with Chrisean just to make a point. Remember when everyone thought they knew what was best back then? One side asked, and look how that turned out. The other side clapped back with, "This isn't the same, this is worse." Every comparison escalated the emotion, stretching the story beyond reality into something almost cinematic. Then came the reaction channels, because no scandal survives without them. Long-form breakdowns popped up overnight, complete with dramatic thumbnails, red arrows, and bold text screaming urgency. Titles promised the truth while delivering mostly speculation. Live streams ran for hours, looping the same clips, replaying the same moments, and inviting callers who sounded more heated than informed. The story wasn't just being told anymore. It was being monetized in real time. Chrisean Rock's past was dragged back into the spotlight like an old highlight reel nobody asked for. Every chaotic moment she'd ever had was reframed as context. Critics said it proved a pattern. Defenders said it proved nothing except that the internet loves rewriting history when it suits the narrative. Either way, the past became ammunition, and it was being fired from every angle. Meanwhile, supporters rallied just as loudly. They accused the internet of turning motherhood into a performance judged by strangers who'd never met the child. They pointed out how selective outrage tends to be, how certain celebrities get grace while others get hunted. They questioned why chaos equals danger in the court of public opinion, and why being unconventional is treated like a crime. Their posts didn't go viral as fast, but they burned with the same intensity. The memes kept coming. Some dark, some sarcastic, some crossing lines so fast they barely slowed down. Humor became both a shield and a weapon. People laughed while arguing, joked while condemning, and somehow managed to turn a serious conversation into entertainment. It was uncomfortable, confusing, and very on-brand for the internet. Through it all, Chrisean stayed mostly quiet, and that silence became its own storyline. People filled the gaps with theories. Every hour without a statement added fuel to the fire. If she posted something unrelated, critics called it avoidance. If she didn't post at all, they called it guilt. The internet doesn't wait for answers. It manufactures them. By now, this wasn't just about CPS calls or concern for a child. It was about power, visibility, and who gets to control the narrative. It was about whether the internet is capable of protecting anyone without destroying someone in the process. And as the noise reached a fever pitch, one thing was obvious: the fallout was only beginning. Because when the internet smells blood, it doesn't walk away satisfied. It waits for consequences, real or imagined, and demands a finale that's even louder than the scandal itself. By the time the dust should have settled, it didn't. It thickened. Because scandals like this don't end with clarity. They end with aftershocks. and the aftershocks hit harder than the original quake. Whether anything official ever comes out of the CPS frenzy or not, the damage to reputations, relationships, and public perception was already in motion. And there's no rewind button on the internet. Chrisean Rock's name didn't just trend, it calcified into a headline people won't forget easily. Once you're publicly linked to words like investigation and concern, even loosely, it sticks like gum on a sneaker. Brands get nervous, fans get conflicted, critics get louder, and the internet, always hungry, starts asking what comes next. Because online outrage isn't about resolution, it's about escalation. The biggest consequence wasn't legal. It was psychological and cultural. Every future post involving Chrisean Jr. is now filtered through suspicion. A smile becomes performative, a quiet moment becomes evasive, a normal parenting hiccup becomes a full-blown conspiracy thread. The internet doesn't and see what it thinks it saw. It archives it, screenshots it, and drags it back out whenever convenient. Relationships around Chrisean felt the pressure too. Friends, associates, and family members suddenly found themselves under the microscope just for standing nearby. Silence was treated like endorsement. Defense was treated like complicity. Distance was treated like guilt. Everyone connected to her became a supporting character in a story they never auditioned for. That's the price of proximity when the internet decides it wants a villain and a lesson wrapped into one dot. And then there's the bigger question nobody wants to answer honestly. What happens when mass reporting becomes a form of entertainment? When concern turns into spectacle and protection turns into performance, the line between help and harm blurs beyond recognition. This situation forced people to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the internet doesn't want solutions. It wants drama with a moral excuse. Public perception shifted in real time. Some fans pulled back, saying they couldn't support the chaos anymore. Others doubled down, defending Chrisean harder than ever, framing her as a victim of digital witch hunting. Neutral observers quietly took notes, watching how quickly empathy evaporates once a narrative locks in. And all of this happened without a courtroom, without verified reports. Without official confirmation, just vibes, volume, and viral momentum. What made this aftermath even more intense was the way it exposed internet hypocrisy. People who swear they hate cancel culture were suddenly leading the charge. People who preach mental health awareness were piling on stress. People who claimed to protect children were cracking jokes and farming engagement. It was a masterclass in contradiction, served with hashtags and hot takes. Chrisean Rock's future online presence now exists in a narrower lane. Every move is calculated whether she wants it to be or not. Even doing nothing is a statement now. The internet doesn't allow redemption arcs unless they're dramatic, tear-filled, and perfectly edited. And even then, forgiveness is temporary. One misstep and the archive reopens. Meanwhile, the story left a blueprint for future scandals. It showed just how fast a rumor can become a movement, how quickly a number can become a weapon, how easily concern can be amplified into chaos when algorithms reward outrage. This wasn't just about one celebrity. It was about a system that thrives on escalation and calls it accountability. The aftermath also raised quiet fears among other public figures. If it can happen this fast to someone this visible, it can happen to anyone living online. One clip, one bad angle, one misunderstood moment. That's all it takes. The line between public life and public trial has never been thinner. And yet, despite all the noise, one thing remained unresolved. The internet never got the clean ending it wanted. No dramatic press conference. No official statement satisfying every side. No viral apology moment neatly tying up the chaos. Just lingering questions, fractured opinions, and a scandal that faded not because it was resolved, but because something louder eventually replaced it. That's how these stories end now. Not with truth, but with exhaustion. Chrisean Rock walks forward carrying a narrative she didn't fully write. And the internet moves on pretending it didn't just spend weeks playing judge, jury, and executioner from behind a screen. But the memory stays. The comments stay. The screenshots stay. And the next time her name trends, this chapter will be dragged right back into the spotlight like it never left. Because in the world of viral chaos, nothing is ever really over. It's just waiting for the next trigger, the next clip, the next excuse to explode all over again. And if there's one thing the internet has proven time and time again, it's that it doesn't crave peace, it craves the next scandal. And somewhere between concern and chaos, the line got crossed, blurred, and monetized, leaving everyone wondering whether the internet actually protected anyone at all, or just fed itself another story to tear apart before moving on to the next headline. If you made it this far, congratulations, you survived another episode of the internet doing what it does best, turning concern into chaos and chaos into content. And now it's your turn, because this story doesn't end when the video ends. It lives in the comments, it breathes in the arguments, and it explodes every time someone thinks they've got a hotter take than the last person. So don't be shy, drop your thoughts below. Were people genuinely worried? Or did the internet cross the line and call it activism? Say it with your chest. And while you're down there, smash that like button like it owes you rent money and keeps dodging your calls. Likes tell the algorithm to stop playing games and push this conversation where it belongs, right into the middle of the timeline where everyone suddenly becomes an expert. If you disagreed with half of what you heard, like the video. If you agreed with all of it, like the video. If you're confused but entertained, you already know what to do. Entertained, you already know what to do.